Hello everyone, a very important story here from Nintendo. What is going on with Skyward Sword HD? We have a write-up here from Go Nintendo. Nintendo says they have no plans to release The Legend of Zelda Skyward Swords on Switch at this time. Aonuma made an offhand comment at the Legend of Zelda 2018 concert event in Japan about fans waiting for Skyward Sword to come to Switch, and the internet ran with it. Why would Aonuma make a comment like this unless he was teasing a project in the works? Turns out it was all just wishful thinking on the part of the fans. Here's what a Nintendo spokesperson had to say when asked about the potential for a Switch port of the game. The Nintendo representative says, "At this time, we have no plans to release The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword on Switch." However, do not give up hope, because many times before, Nintendo has said they are not going to do one thing and a few months later, do it. One example is with Miyamoto. In an interview shortly after the Nintendo 3DS released, he was asked if a 3DS XL would release, and what he had to say about fans who weren't going to buy the Nintendo 3DS because they're waiting on the XL version. Because at this point, the DS had released, followed by several different updated versions. We had the DSi, the DSi XL, the DSi Lite, and for obvious reasons, fans were hesitant to buy the 3DS, expecting other versions to come out shortly, just as with the DS. In the interview, Miyamoto told us they had no plans to release a new version of the 3DS because they see no reason to improve it. As we know, that was a complete lie, because we got the 3DS XL, the 2DS, the new 2DS XL, the new 3DS, and the new 3DS XL. When Miyamoto told us that we would not get a new version of the 3DS, we ended up with 5 different versions. Another fact putting more evidence towards Skyward Sword HD, Aonuma has, to my memory, never teased a Zelda game he did not deliver on. Please comment below if I'm wrong. Going through just some of them, he teased Majora's Mask in interviews, saying he is listening to the fans. He then, quite literally, put Majora's Mask in A Link Between Worlds, but said it was just something fun for the fans, and does not mean that they are working on Majora's Mask 3D, which also counts as yet another time that he said they were not working on a game that they were in fact working on. Because at this time, Grezzo had been hard at work on Majora's Mask for over a year or two. Another time, he and Miyamoto teased a remake of A Link to the Past for the 3DS, saying in many interviews they would love to take the classic game and see what it would look like using the power and capability of the 3DS to recreate the world in 3D. They then went on continuing to tease it in later interviews. Finally, they revealed that they were developing it. However, Aonuma decided to make an entirely new game using the world of A Link to the Past, in the end making a reimagining of A Link to the Past that also acts as a spiritual sequel instead of a remake. After Wind Waker HD released, he teased Twilight Princess HD, and months later it was officially announced in a Nintendo Direct alongside a quick clip of Breath of the Wild, or Zelda Wii U as it was known at the time. They teased Hyrule Warriors could come to the Switch if fans wanted it enough. A few months later, it was also revealed. The major difference here though, that lends even more credibility to Skyward Sword HD. After some of these hints or subtle nods were given by Nintendo, Nintendo would also deny the rumor or just not comment on it if they were asked. Usually they say something along the lines of, "We are listening to the fans but have nothing to announce at this time." This time, Aonuma wasn't just in an interview. He wasn't just asked during a new 2018 Zelda concert, which took place long after the old Symphony of the Goddess stopped touring. Knowing websites, reporters, and everyone would be paying attention to this concert for some sort of announcement, he walked out on stage in front of a live audience, knowing it was being recorded and streamed online with tons of Zelda fans watching. He then deliberately dropped the tease. A few years ago, Nintendo told us they had no plans to ever get in the smartphone game business. Now it's one of their biggest priorities. With Mario and Fire Emblem already released for smartphones, a new Mario Kart coming soon, and several other franchises like Zelda hinted at. Another example, shortly before the Nintendo Switch launched, they were asked by fans if they would continue support for the Wii U or if the Switch would be replacing it, because at this time some fans had just purchased a Wii U and they didn't want to see support for the new console they had purchased to end so soon. Nintendo replied by saying that the Nintendo Switch, or the NX as it was likely known at the time, would be supported alongside the Nintendo Switch and the 3DS. It would not be replacing any of them. And what happened? Shortly after the Nintendo Switch released, Nintendo canceled production of the Wii U and support of any first-party games coming out on the system. All of their attention were put on games for the 3DS and the Switch, aside from the few mobile games they would be working on. If we go all the way back to the Nintendo DS release, a very similar situation happened, where Nintendo said it would also be a third pillar, much like the Nintendo Switch, that would be supported alongside the Game Boy Advance and the Nintendo GameCube. But what happened? Nintendo moved all first-party support to the Nintendo DS, and the very famous, popular Game Boy family and brand was basically gone. This, again, after Nintendo promising that the Nintendo DS consoles and the Game Boy family of consoles would both continue alongside each other. What I'm basically trying to say is that Nintendo always says stuff like this. They cannot confirm or deny rumors, because when they do deny them, things like this happen where they end up having to lie to the audience, knowing full well that yes, they are going to be releasing it. However, they have millions of dollars that go into marketing all of these games, and they don't want that money to go to waste. They try to plan out the perfect day to announce these games. They want to save the announcement to give the fans a surprise, and give the trailer or the game the best chance to have a successful reveal. One last example that I want to give is with Majora's Mask 3D. There were several statements from Nintendo after Ocarina of Time 3D released, saying that they were not working on Majora's Mask 3D, when it was obvious after Ocarina of Time 3D that yes, Majora's Mask 3D would also be coming. It would just be odd and not right to have one on the console and the other not, as the games go together so well. So at first, when Nintendo said they had no plans for a Majora's Mask 3D, it quickly changed to them sort of teasing or hinting at it, saying if the fan demand was high enough, they would begin making it, knowing full well that Grezzo almost immediately started work on Majora's Mask 3D after Ocarina of Time 3D. They just wanted to take the time to give it the perfect announcement, as they do with all of their games, for the fans. So with Skyward Sword HD, yes, they have hinted it, and yes, they said that they have no plans for it right now. However, again, this is the same statement they have given over and over for other questions, and soon after, completely doing a 180, announcing whatever it is. So if you're a fan of Skyward Sword, don't worry, it's likely already finished or near the end of completion, and my guess, going to be releasing sometime around February or March, if not sooner, as February and March are the dates that several of the last Zelda games all released, including Breath of the Wild, Majora's Mask 3D, Twilight Princess HD, and a few others. Maybe we get an official announcement at the upcoming Game Awards, or the Kinda Funny press conference coming after, where Sega and many other first and third parties have confirmed to be revealing or showing off new games. Nintendo is saying that they have no plans for it right now because they may be waiting for the Game Awards or the huge press conference happening the very next day. Think of it as a sort of mini E3 presentation. Greg Miller, who I was lucky enough to have on my podcast, and met up and hung out a few times with at E3 while I was with my Hylian Gamescast co-hosts, Kayla and Daniel. If this video's interested you, shameless plug here, who we also hung out with and went to dinner with several times, RMFH Gaming, Holly Wolf, Commonwealth Realm, and I even met up with some of the IGN guys and many others. Speaking of the Hylian Gamescast, in the newest episode we all discussed Skyward Sword HD, yes, 3 new Zelda games that Nintendo are working on. So check that video out after this if you haven't already. We also know Nintendo usually has a big Nintendo Direct early in the year to show off new games that will be releasing throughout the year. Some of the games they show off even being new announcements. And no, Skyward Sword HD is not taking away time for the next big Zelda game, as it's most likely Tantalus, not Nintendo, working on the game. Tantalus's main priority is porting or remaking HD games for the Nintendo console. They also happen to be the ones who worked on Twilight Princess HD. The main person in charge of that Tantalus team who made Twilight Princess HD for the Wii U has not released a game in a long time, hinting at whatever he's working on, they have been working on for a long time, and it should be ready to reveal or release very soon. Him being one of the main people in charge of Twilight Princess HD leads us to believe that Nintendo would once again trust them to remake another Zelda game in HD. I will briefly cover all of the other new Zelda games Nintendo have been confirmed to work on, but if you want to see something more in depth, right after this video is uploaded, I'm going to upload another video explaining heavily in depth using interviews, not speculation, actual facts and interviews, unlike a lot of other people, to explain all of the different Zelda games Nintendo are working on right now. Again, it'll be posted right after this video, and a link will be in the description and the top pinned comment after the video uploads. What are Nintendo's teams working on? Aonuma has confirmed they have been hard at work for years on a new 2D Zelda game where he says he wants to evolve what a 2D Zelda game is. His main Zelda team, who worked on Breath of the Wild, Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess, and the other main console Zelda games, is also hard at work on a new Zelda game that he also confirmed. In interviews, he hinted at that game being multiplayer, saying he wanted to take what we learned from the multiplayer in Triforce Heroes and apply it to the engine of Breath of the Wild. We then have the new president of Nintendo saying that he wants to put a huge focus on online gameplay for new and upcoming games. This heavily hints at Aonuma's main console Zelda team working on a new online multiplayer Zelda game for the Nintendo Switch in the engine of Breath of the Wild. All of the past multiplayer Zelda games we've had were 2D, even Four Swords Adventures on GameCube. However, this will be the very first 3D, camera behind the back, not top-down multiplayer Zelda game.
Hey everyone, it's me again, Elia Rose. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching this video. And you know what? If you're a fan of videos like this, you should totally subscribe and give this video a like and comment below to let us know what type of videos you would like to see us create in the future. And if you would really like to support all of us here at the GameOverJesse channel, please consider purchasing a GameOverJesse t-shirt or becoming a Patreon at patreon.com/GameOverJesse, where you can receive many rewards, such as getting shoutouts, having any topic or theory that you select discussed on the podcast or made into its own video, having your question answered, joining on as a guest on the podcast, and playing with us during our Twitch live streams at twitch.tv/GameOverJesse, and much, much more.